Call to order the September 11th, 2012 Parks and Recreation Board meeting. First order of business is to welcome our new board member, Paul Skoo Walker. Welcome, Skoo. You want to share a little bit about your, sorry to put you on the spot, but tell us a little about your family and your other stuff you've done, please.
Well, I'm born and raised here and went to Indiana, graduated from Indiana, worked for Allstate, had my own insurance agency, and now here I am.
Great, welcome.
Thank you.
Board members, can you just make sure your mics are on or that you're talking into the mics? It's hard to hear. Thanks.
Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, welcome, Skoo. Second item on the agenda is opportunities for the public to address the board on items not on the agenda. Do we have any public comments? We do not. Next item is approval of the minutes from the August 21st board meeting. Do I have a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion.
I'd second it.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Minutes are approved. Next item, we have Craig Culp from the North Suburban Special Recreation Association, or NSSRA, to tell us about his organization. Welcome,
Hello.
Craig.
Hello, thank you so much for inviting me and a couple of our families out tonight. I'm Craig Culp, I'm the Executive Director of NSSRA. About a year ago, I was out to visit with the board and I was able to share our video and just some additional information about NSSRA. And tonight, I invited a couple of our families that use NSSRA services from Lake Forest to join me, because I think they do a better job than I could ever do of explaining what we are and what we do. So I'd like to start out with our families. I'll introduce them, allow them to share a couple of items with the board, and then I can go through, I have a packet in front of you there, some further statistics and information about NSSRA, and of course, I would be happy to answer any questions that anybody on the board has. And before I get started, I just wanted to thank Mary for her continued support as our newly appointed chairman at NSSRA. She's doing a great job. And Lake Forest being one of our original members, NSSRA is the first ever SRA in the country, and we were formed in 1970. So for the last 42 years, we've been providing recreation for our families that have individuals with disabilities in their families. So without further ado, I'd like to start out by introducing Christina Tober. Her son Luke is a 10-year-old. And he wasn't able to make it tonight. He was planning on coming out, but his schedule didn't work out well for him. And Luke has been in our program since 2007. And he's been in programs such as Sports and More, Game Time, Lunchbox Club, Strikers Bowling, Tumble, Rumble, and Roll. And this past year at our annual banquet, Luke was honored as our 2012 Youth Participant of the Year. And then our second family, and I'll have the Tobers up first, is the Karasik family. I have Jack Karasik, who is one of our longtime participants, and his mom and dad, Mark and Kendra. And Jack has been a participant with us for more than 10 years, and he does all of our special low gator sports teams, strength and conditioning just as a start. Our 80s throwback program, I was just looking at his enrollment over the last 2 years, and it's 6 pages long. So he does stuff with us almost on a daily basis. He's been to Dave & Buster's, and what Jack will tell you about tonight is his favorite program, which is our Camp Wigwam program. So without further ado, I'd ask Christina Tober to come up and just share a couple of items with the board.
Good evening. Sorry, Luke. We tried to hold him off, but unfortunately he decided he'd rather go swimming, so no offense. Thanks for inviting me. We've been members or residents of Lake Forest since 2004. We have 3 boys, high school freshmen, Sam, who's 8th grade, and Luke, who's 10. As Craig said, Luke is 10. He's autistic, and he attends a special school in Schaumburg. Since he attended his first rec program, which was at Cherokee School, it was a partnership with Lake Forest Rec. It was an after-school program with typical peers. NSSRA, with the rec center, has given Luke a chance to relate to his community peers, something he's unable to do because his needs can't be met in the local school district. You can't appreciate enough how important it is for kids like Luke to have an organization that embraces and supports their special needs while trying to provide them with what any kid wants, which is just to have fun. Because of the incredible NSSRA staff and their refusal to never give up on even the most challenging of behaviors, and believe me, Luke can give them, throw them right at him. Luke was named, as Craig said, NSSRA Youth Participant of the Year last year. You can't imagine the joy we all felt, particularly Luke, who actually held that trophy. And I mean, for him, who's never stops moving, it was unbelievable. He sat for 2 hours at a dinner, which is never heard of. This was the biggest and most telling award he'll probably achieve in his youth. I think in a community like Lake Forest in particular, we send a wonderful message of acceptance and diversity when we embrace these programs and participants. There's no greater value than having a typical kid work and play alongside a peer who faces immense challenges every day. It is a gift of patience and perspective that can't be taught in school, and it's particularly relevant for our kids who feel so much pressure to be perfect. I hope the City of Lake Forest and the Rec Department continue to find and fund more ways to partner with NSSRA in the future. And while it may seemingly only affect a small population, its impact is immeasurable to all of us. Thanks.
Thanks so much for that and your time. And Sam has hockey practice at 8 o'clock in West Dundee. He's quite a hockey player. He's on a traveling team, and that's where they practice tonight. So I told both families that after they talk with the board, if their schedule, demands for them to leave, they most certainly can. That's so fine. I just want to say thank you, Christina, because it's our pleasure to work with Luke. So thanks so much for your time. And Sam, thanks for coming out too. Great meeting you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Christina.
Thank you.
And then secondly, I'd love to ask Jack and Mark and Kendra to come up. Jack is also a celebrity. He won our Adult Participant of the Year at that same banquet back in 2011.
Not this year, but last year.
Yeah, 2011. So Jack has been with us. He's 25 years old and has done a ton of
Saturday.
Exactly. So Jack and Mark, go ahead and you can share with them.
First, well, let me congratulate the board. We're longtime users of the Recreation Center, and Jason Budsticker and his staff just does a tremendous job over there. Not only for me, but Jack's my constant companion over there as well. He's with me there when he's not in NSSRA. And Skoo, I know you. I'm a founding member of the Lake Forest Baseball Association board, and I remember when you coached one of our teams. Jack wouldn't have a life without NSSRA, frankly. It's everything he does. It's all he looks forward to. He's the happiest kid you'll ever meet, the friendliest kid you'll ever meet, and the reason is because he's treated with respect at NSSRA, and Craig and his group just do a tremendous job there. Jack's done everything and anything you can think of. Every program there is he signs up for because he can't wait to get there, and he hates to be he tells me to come late so he can be the last person off the bus to go home. It's many trips they get picked up where we live at Moraine and Highland Park. I'm up there at 10, 11 o'clock most nights, weekend nights, picking Jack up from his programs. But Jack just went to something that really has made him more of a man than you could ever imagine. And that's something he's done for, what, the last 8 or 10 years, Jack? Camp Wigwam?
Yeah, I done.
Tell him about Camp Wigwam.
I done Camp Wigwam for 8 or 10 years, and I like it.
What do you do there, Jack?
Like, we go fishing, tubing, swimming, all kinds of stuff. Last year we were stuck in a hurricane.
That's right. And can you imagine the special recreation kids? They're all handicapped. Most of them have serious diseases. Jack has been diagnosed with generalized convulsive epilepsy. He takes medicine 3 times a day. We live our life on 12-hour shifts giving him medicine. To be caught in Maine, where this camp is, with all these kids without an extra supply of medicine was a logistical nightmare that NSSRA just did a tremendous job of coordinating. Kendra and I were down at our condo in Miami and our 1 week off a year that Jack's not with us, and we got a call on our cell phone. The next call was to Walgreens. The next thing you know, Jack's in the camp van going with the counselor to pick up everybody's medicine at Walgreens, and it all worked out well. And I just can't, I don't know what we do without NSSRA. Craig, you and your group are just tremendous. We're fortunate to be in Lake Forest. We're fortunate to have the rec center. We're fortunate to have Craig. I'm fortunate to have my wife, Kendra, but I'm most fortunate to have my son, Jack, and his brother, Alex. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you very much.
Am I this is the Gator picture?
You are in that picture there. Yep. Right down at Tideline Park.
Well, this is John Zachary.
I know, exactly.
He also
Shake my
does.
friend.
Thank you.
I promise Jack.
Okay. Thanks, Mark. Thanks, Kendra.
He does both. Well, he Miss Ella.
Pardon me?
Try to with this.
Oh, I know, Ella and here and everything. All right. Thanks.
Thanks, Jack. Thanks, Kendo. Thanks, Mark.
Take care, everybody.
Well, as I said, they can do a much better job than I could ever in explaining what we do and the impact that we have. And you know, Jack mentions Camp Wigwam. Just to let you know the breadth and scope, it's really a unique program. For 37 years, we've been sending a group of adults with cognitive disabilities to the state of Maine to Camp Wigwam. And it actually was born out of Lake Forest. A student at Lake Forest College volunteered for NSSRA back in the 70s, and his family owns this camp, Camp Wigwam in Maine. And he proposed the idea, why don't we bring a group that I work with as a volunteer all the way to Maine to enjoy camp in this beautiful setting. And I actually went out last year, made a surprise trip to visit the group. So this year was our 38th consecutive year going. We go for 8 straight days. We had a group of 39 individuals go this year. We had 9 staff and 30 participants go. And it was just an absolute blast. And as Mark referenced, last year, the day we were supposed to leave was the day that Irene came through Maine in 2011. So our stay at Camp Wigwam was extended by just over 2 days. And with style and grace as best they could, without electricity, you know, they enjoyed the great woods in Maine for 2 more days. So it was very exciting. On the board there, I have just a couple of quick slides I'd like to run through quickly, just to share with you a couple of programs that are run in Lake Forest. This past summer, we had a new campsite out at the East Campus of Lake Forest High School as one of our new campsites. We had 11 participants participate in the summer camp, and we had 3 classrooms, all air conditioned, which was extremely important this summer. We had a couple of what I call winter blizzards, or summer blizzards, where we actually had to tell our staff and all of our programs, stay inside just like a blizzard's coming through because it's so hot. And thankfully we had air conditioning. It was actually a wonderful location for us. But at camp, we focused in on dancing and cooking and games and gardening, field trips to the beach, which they absolutely loved here, the Lake Forest Beach. And since summer school at Lake Forest is Monday through Thursday, we offered Friday field trips to extend the entire week for the group. This is our first time that this camp was at Lake Forest East, and it was just wonderful. Very well received. A lot of the families that were involved were very thankful that it was right here in Lake Forest, made it more convenient for them. The baseball fields out at Town Line Park have been the home fields for NSSRA's Special Olympics Gator softball team for the last 2 years. And we had 26 athletes on 2 different teams in 2012. And our program starts, our team starts in April and runs through July. And we're at Town Line every single Tuesday night for the entire summer. And one tradition that we have for 42 years is the last week of each of our Special Olympic sports teams is a staff game. And for 42 years, staff has yet to beat the Gators in a sport. We keep on trying. And we have a great relationship with Northwestern University. And Pat Fitzgerald sent out a couple of his football players last year, one running back and one wide receiver. And they come to many of our events as volunteers and just really connect well with our team, and our participants, our athletes just love them. So they've really reached out to us and kind of adopted us because they're so close. So we have a lot of their athletes that are volunteers and spend time with us. And then lastly, one thing that Christina's son Luke participates in, as do many, is our Youth Saturday lineup. NSSRA has a series of lineups every Saturday for youth, teen, adults, etc., where our participants can basically start at 9 or 10 in the morning and go till 2 or 3 in the afternoon in a variety of programs. And our youth lineup is just like that. And it's hosted or it's housed at Everett School during the 3 seasons of school, and then the summertime it's at the rec center. And the group does everything. It's from Fun Club to Lunchbox Club to Strikers and Sports Skills. Those are the 4 options that we have, and most families sign up for all 4, but they get to do all of that, sports, fun, lunch, and then finish up with bowling out at Deerfield, Brunswick Zone. It's absolutely fantastic, really well attended. As you can see there, the kids are playing with suds right by your playground. And it's great because participants, it really lends to structure that replicates, it's not identical, but replicates, you know, the school day. And for families that are looking forward, it's a good respite on the weekend for Saturday, you know, just to keep that structure rolling. So that's just a quick review of the programs, some programs that we have here in Lake Forest. And in your packet on the first page, on the left-hand side, there's the participation statistics for the village, for the city of Lake Forest. And you know, last year, 2011, we served 1,600 families, and they signed up for, their participants signed up for just over 7,000 programs during our year. And then you see winter, spring, and summer stats for Lake Forest are, for 2011, are right there at the top. And then for where we are so far through 2012, the families that we're serving and the categories of programs that they sign up for.
Hey, Craig, how does this, are we trending upwards, downwards, flat in terms of participation?
We're basically flat outside of the area of inclusion, which is the second to last category there. We are definitely trending lower in inclusion this year, and inclusion is a family's choice. And basically our inclusion program is when a resident with a disability wants to participate in their home park district programming. NSSRA staff, we conduct an assessment with the program staff, and we provide, according to the ADA, any reasonable accommodation to make that program the best it possibly can be. And our most common accommodation is to hire a one-on-one leisure assistant to go through the program with that individual. And they're typically just, you know, they meld right into the program. We don't make any pomp or circumstance about it, but we're there as an extra set of senses to make sure that the program runs well for that participant. And this past year, we employed almost 250 inclusion aides throughout our 13 districts, believe it or not. But that is driven by our families as to what they want to participate in. So that often can fluctuate tremendously from year to year. So we're trending basically at, you know, status quo outside of the inclusion area.
Thanks.
My pleasure. Any other questions at all?
What is NSSRA's staffing outside of the constituent park districts? I mean, how many staff members do you all have?
Actually, a great question. We are going to employ for the first time this year 500 employees, of which 20 are full-time staff. So we have 20 full-time staff and 2 regular part-time staff, which are 25 to 30 hours a week, and then the rest are all seasonal program staff. So it's quite an undertaking, as the families, you know, explained. We have 20 full-time staff that are overseeing, you know, 800 programs that we employ, you know, up to 500 people. That's in an entire year, you know. So, but this summer, like I said, we had almost 250 inclusion staff. That's in addition to our 180 camp staff that work in our various camps. So summertime, as Mary's staff could testify to, is a completely different season for everybody in the recreation world. You know, as you all know, it's very busy, but we're just coming out of summer, getting into fall, and we had an absolutely wonderful summer, busiest camps ever, added 2 new camps, you know, and our staff is just hopping all over the place.
Craig, here's a chance for you to put your plug out that you're hiring right now. You're looking for people.
Absolutely, right. Good point, because we reach out to all of our partners. You know, if anybody you know, in the audience or that hears is looking for you know, a part-time job or a seasonal job, and you're 16 years or older, and number 1, you love recreation, number 2, you have a big heart, and number 3, you want to have some fun. We provide, you know, all the training, and our programs are across our entire district. So Lake Bluff and Lake Forest are our northern border, Wilmette and Glenview are our southern border, and it's all 13 communities of the North Shore. So, you know, whether you're in Lake Bluff, Lake Forest, or just hear this, you know, we can focus in on programs that we offer in Lake Bluff, Lake Forest, Highland Park, up here on the northern end, and we're definitely in need of staff.
And those communities,
Thank you, Mary.
Do those communities fund your organization?
Yes, all 13 partners. Our 3 revenue sources are, number 1, one, our partner agencies. Number two, our program fees. And number three is our grants and grant writing. And we actually have a foundation, NSSRA, Northern Suburban Special Rec Foundation, which is very generous to us. So those are our three main revenue sources.
How would you break down percentage-wise those three sources?
Good question.
Part of your budget.
We're at about 60%. Comes from our member agency contribution. So we have just over a $3 million budget, $3.5 million budget, of which just under $2 million comes from our partners, and then the remaining $1.5 million comes from our program fees and our outside granting.
Thanks.
Mm-hmm. Perfect. Any other questions? Fantastic. Thank you so much for your time.
Thanks very much,
you.
Craig.
My
Appreciate
pleasure.
your time. Next item is Mary telling us about the BAIRD and Associates contract for the lakefront revetment wall study.
I'm just going to speak right from over here tonight, and basically what I did send out as a second follow-up to the original packet to you was a little more of the descriptive background of the request here tonight. You might recall we have on our capital list as a project identified by the Park Board this past year was to do what we call the revetment wall study down at Forest Park Beach. And what this is a assessment of the current conditions of all of the breakwater walls. You see the large stone wall that provide the barriers along the shoreline down at the beach, as well as around the boating facility all the way down to the area where we put in the new break wall when they did the underground storage tank for the North Shore Sanitary District. The beach is 25 years old, as you know. We celebrated that this summer. There was a study done, a 10-year beach performance study was done, which was our last major study that was conducted. There was in 2001, they did an update, but it wasn't a full-fledged review of all of the structures and their conditions. And so the BAIRD and Associates did recommend that at the 20-year mark that there was a full study done, and it had been pushed off until now, so now we're at 25 years. But the proposal in here is to continue working with them. They have all the baseline data of all the prior studies, as well as all the markers, et cetera, to make sure that we're comparing previous performance to this data that we would be looking at. But it really will be a assessment of underwater probes to understand whether or not we're seeing any shift underneath our breakwaters that's supporting the large rocks that are there. We visually have taken pictures over the years and have seen some rock slide occurring at the different revetment walls, and just to see if there's any underscouring of those toes to make sure the support stays in place. The other aspect that they would help us look at is our sand retention, that the performance of the sand and holding it in the cells is to the level that needs to be. It appears to be doing very well. We aren't seeing a lot of drift of the sand, but what we have seen is that I don't know if all of you were around or how many of you were around when the beach was originally put in, but the sand that was there at that time was much more coarse, and it was a heavier sand, and over the years that has been eroded, and we've seen the deposits of fine sand coming up onto the beach, and we've of course amended with the finer sand. And I will tell you, if you ask the residents in the early days, they probably like this finer sand, but we need to understand what that is and what difference that would take for maintenance and things like that going forward. So it's really an opportunity for us to recalibrate where we are, what might be coming up on the horizon that hopefully is minor adjustments that we want to do to forever be able to continue to, maintain the facility down there to the level that it needs to be done. The other aspect of it that is looking a little bit at the soils, as I mentioned, actually in the actual basins themselves, so we know the depth situations that we have there. And then when we built the underground storage tank on the south end, they did do some work to shore that up, and we never ever set the baseline data of what that looked like. So this would be, a photographic survey as well as an engineering look at to set all of the parameters of what that looks like right now, so that if we see anything change or in 5 years we come back, we can do a quick study and assessment just to make sure that with the wave actions against that wall, and it is a different structure than when it used to be just earthen underneath there. It's a solid structure, just to set some baseline data for that. And then, as I mentioned, they would put together for us kind of a proposal as far as things to watch for, maintenance things to take into consideration, a plan going forward, just to continue to monitor the performance of the overall beach. So
the expectation, Mary, is we're not going to find anything major that requires immediate attention?
We don't think so. I think what we might need or want to consider doing is resetting a few of the stones that have slipped off into the water, that are submerged or, or been displaced a little bit. I think that's the biggest thing. But we are looking at the sand. The other animal we've wrestled with, we've never had it in all the years that we have been, since we put the new beach in, but it's happened the last 2 years, is the storm action causing the sand to actually be displaced up onto the turf. And then we've had to dig it all out and bring it back onto the beach. And it happened last May, right before Labor Day. It was 10 guys, 10 hours a day for 7 days shoveling sand, and we had to do it by hand because it's wet. It gets down into the turf and there's no way to scrape it off easily. And the concern was it was going to suffocate the turf if we didn't get it off there. We made it just in time for the weekend before Memorial Day, and Storm 2 came in and redeposited it in there. So that was very unusual for us. And then we had a small storm again this year that did the same thing. So we're trying to get a good assessment of what is the sand that's out there, what's going to be displaced, and whether or not we want to go back to having kind of this hybrid mix of sand, because if we had some heavier sand, back to what was originally placed there, we wouldn't have the ease of depositing so much sand during these kinds of storms. So just kind of looking at that, getting some feedback from really people. This is what they specialize in, is coastal engineering. They were a part of this original project, which I do really believe was visionary. You might recall that we won at the 20th anniversary, the first ever intercoastal water project won the National Coastal Preservation Award in the country. So it really is a high quality design and facility, and we just wanted to make sure we continue to measure that and make sure we maintain it going forward. So the proposal we had in here, we had budgeted $30,000, and it's in the capital fund for this year. Their proposal came in at $29,800. To be quite truthful, it could have gone up as high as $50,000 if we wanted to do really extensive probes a lot further out from shore, to the north of our beach, the south of our beach, if we wanted to see, what deposits and things like that are doing. But we tried to keep the scope within a reasonable perspective as what they did 10 years ago, or at the 10-year mark, so that we're, again, comparing apples to apples. If we find anything that's concerning, then we could look at a second-tier study if we needed to expand that out and do a further, a broader-based study if we wanted to. But they don't anticipate the need to do that, so we stayed within what would be necessary to be able to compare to the 10-year anniversary study that was done and come up with a maintenance plan going forward. So the proposal that we had in here was to approve a professional service contract with BAIRD and Associates for $29,800 to be paid from the fiscal 13 capital fund, and that's what we're seeking approval on.
Go for it.
Other questions? Or?
Yeah, the baseline for the sanitary district work, is that required by them?
No.
Would this study give us any benefit with them?
Well, that I don't really have the answer to. I don't know. I mean, we viewed it as, the city staff viewed it as, once the 1 year passed after the basin was built, it's the city's responsibility to, monitor and maintain it. And we were just trying to make sure that we know what we've got, and we know if something changes, we can recognize what that is before it becomes a big problem, or should there be a problem. We don't expect problems, but we didn't set a baseline study at that time.
And this isn't required by any state or federal agency or organization?
Not that I'm aware of, no.
Okay.
It was recommended by a couple companies when we did revisited down there for the beach study with engineers.
And last question, why at the 20-year mark was it postponed?
Financial issues at the time.
So back to Bob's question about the south lot and what the sanitary district did. This BAIRD report says there's a concern the project might have had some impacts on the south revetment wall, or might have some impacts in the future. What kinds of problems might we see?
The only thing that they said they wanted to, why they felt it'd be helpful, is understanding the wave action against that wall, and if we see any fissures start to happen in that wall, how we would shore that up or how we would repair the wall, so we have a game plan for addressing those. I did feel like in their proposal they kind of the language is a little more alarming than I think it needed to be. It said that the city expressed concerns over it. we don't have concerns. We just felt we were doing our diligence to make sure we understood what's there now so we can monitor it appropriately going forward, and we never did that. So that was just the intent there. But there really isn't identified concerns at this point.
And that storage has been in there for 5 years, is that correct?
Yeah, I came in the summer that I
Storage tank?
started here, so
Yeah.
that would have been
Okay.
about 5 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah. So.
Do we bring sand in on an annual basis or not anymore? Or never?
We've only done a couple times. We looked at that when we were trying to consider the beach award. When we were doing the coastal award, they asked us those kinds of questions, and we've had 2 amendments of sands over the time span that anybody on staff were able to identify and track. So it's been very minimal sand replacement. So overall, it's performed pretty well. But we have seen a change over of the kind of sand that's on the beach. So.
And when we're talking about those rock revetments, is there anything underneath them other than, you know, whatever's at the bottom of the lake?
No, it's it's the lake bottom.
Okay.
So, yeah, they do. They did. I don't understand exactly. I wasn't for the construction, but just it's larger pieces, and then builds up to the smaller up on the top. But there's definitely been rock slide. We've got visual pictures of changes where the very ends of them have slid into the water now.
And when can we expect them to come back and share their findings?
The study would take about 8 weeks. So if we can get them in by September 18th, because we want them to be able to dive off each of the breakwaters and do their probes. So they need to get in the water, and they need to catch the fall season to do that. So they would have a report back by November-ish to give to the park board. So.
Okay, good.
Is there any sort of equipment that'll be down there that residents may need to be aware of if we go forward?
No, they just use a rubber raft to go out, and there'll be a scuba diver that will dive in there. But other than that, no.
Well, it seems like a pretty modest proposal, and this seems like the company that we ought to be asking to do this. So I assume you're looking for a recommendation from this board to
Correct.
To
Do
the
we
city
need a
council.
voice vote, Mary?
Yeah. What? I'm sorry.
Do we need a voice vote?
Yes, we do, since it's an expenditure of funds for capital. If we could.
I would move to recommend approval of awarding the contract for the survey to be performed by BAIRD and Associates.
Second? Do we have a
Okay.
second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
Any opposed?
No.
Okay, passes.
Okay. Okay.
Next item, Curator Rob Carmichael here to talk to us about the wonderful Wildlife Discovery Center. Hey, Rob, did you bring any friends?
Oh, yeah.
Good.
Always. I'd feel different if I didn't have something with me, so we'll get to him later. There we go. So I thought I'd come back, give you a little update as far as where we're at right now. Listen to NSSRA and talk about all the great things they're doing for the community. And I think the Wildlife Discovery Center kind of fills a unique niche in our community, which makes it so special because not every child is athletically inclined. There are kids that just like to be more involved with nature, outdoor recreation, things like that. And I think we fill the bill pretty well with the different programs and services that we offer and some of the events that we're doing. So with that, I'm going to give you a little update as far as kind of what we're doing. And as you can see from the punch list, I'm not going to read all of them, but we do an awful lot for a small nature center. We have, even though we have a pretty broad scope, we do try and make sure we're always putting the needs of the community first and foremost, and making sure that we're providing some high quality experiences. We just did a couple scout programs today for Lake Forest kids, and it really kind of goes back to trying to provide some diversity of programming from preschool all the way up to adults. That's probably the one area we're going to try and hit hard this coming year is to offer more adult types of programs. But we do everything from camps to classes to school day off programs to off-site traveling exhibits and things like that. And also our very popular drop-in program where people can come and see truly world-class collections of animals that are being used for educational purposes. So we do a lot, and we're really proud of where we've come so far. We got some special events, a couple that are coming up right now. One in particular is Croctoberfest, and that's the one we're really trying to promote. This will be our second annual Croctoberfest. Our first one was a pretty good success. We had, I think, just over 400 people show up, and we were really happy with that. It's hosted at Elwa Farm, And we bring out all kinds of games and activities for kids to play. And the whole idea is to bring awareness for the plight of crocodiles around the world. There are 24 species in the world, and every one of them are in big trouble. Other than the American alligator, which is doing pretty well since it became federally listed in 1972 when the Endangered Species Act came to be. But that event will be on October 20th, and we hope everyone will come out and enjoy the fun. And the proceeds will benefit the Wildlife Discovery Center. We'll also be making a donation to the IUCN, which is the International Union of Conservation of Nature, who's doing some really special programming with saving some of the world's most imperiled crocodile species. We also host the annual Reptile Rampage, which is always the second Sunday of March, and that's always a real popular event. Anyone who's been to it, it's like a zoo on steroids. I mean, it's like you get everything you could possibly ask for, and the kids, it's a great kid event. You get a lot of hands-on opportunities, and we really, that event's grown from just literally bringing a few cages into the gym to having over 100 exhibitors and drawing several thousand people, a couple thousand people. So it's a lot of fun. Our new one coming up is our Family Beach Campout on, oh gosh, September 29th, I think.
That was last Saturday. No?
The picnic? Yeah. So that's going to be a new event that we're putting on. It's a Recreation Department event. It's going to be hosted at Eloa Farm, and it's going to be kind of a little taste of country. Just trying to bring back some of the old values of having grown up here in Lake Forest, and Skoo and I hanging out as kids growing up. You know, just trying to bring some of that community spirit back, and each park will be kind of looked at each season. So we'll probably do Eloa and eventually West Park and South and all the other parks in Lake Forest. So we're really looking forward to showing this one off this fall. One of the keys for us to succeed is developing good partnerships. And you can see a list of partnerships that we have going here, and we're involved from the local level to the federal level and beyond. Last year we got membership into Chicago Wilderness, which was a pretty big deal for us because being a small agency, we're kind of right now up there with all the big guns in environmental education. So we've been doing some work with Chicago Wilderness and giving us a chance to partner with a whole host of different organizations, from Lake Forest Open Lands to the Field Museum to U.S. Fish and Wildlife, the DNR, Lake County Forest Preserve, and a whole bunch of others. Recently, the last one on the list, Trader Joe's in Northbrook. They've been great to us because once a week we have a resident who works there, and she brings over a couple boxes of steaks and salmon and all kinds of goodies, not for me, although they do look pretty good. They're actually for the animals, and so our animals are eating probably better than me right now. So we're pretty ecstatic. It's actually kind of cut our food bill in almost half right now. So so big high five to Trader Joe's of Northbrook. They've really been great to us. As far as revenue sources, we bring in a variety of different ways of trying to generate revenue to keep the Wildlife Discovery Center going. Obviously, programs are where we are kind of grounded with classes and camps and all the different events that we run. We also get some corporate and donation money too. That also is a huge help to keep us operating at a break-even point. We also do birthday parties and also have in-kind donations as well. So it's really neat to see a lot of the community support that we get when we have a special project. People come forward. Boris the bobcat right there, when we built his cage, Canukin came out and they said, look, we know we want to help you out in some way. So they built a floor to the cage at no cost at all. And that's kind of, you know, that's what makes the Lake Forest such a great place, because people just, they come in, they help, and they pitch in. In FY12, by the way, that's our panther chameleon, in case you're wondering if that's a clown. It's not a clown, it's actually a lizard from Madagascar. In FY12, we actually had a positive variance, which doesn't happen often, but our goal is to always try and make sure we're covering our operational costs, and going into FY13, we are projecting at least a break-even year. And once again, we are funded by program fees and donations.
Hey Rob, just roughly, what percentage is fees versus donations?
Right now, it's probably approximately 30% donations, and the rest are fees.
Okay,
so,
thanks.
Yeah. You know, one of the things that really makes, I think, the Wildlife Discovery Center so unique compared to a lot of other larger facilities is really the close-up, hands-on learning. One of the things that we always hear back when schools come out. We do a lot of we host field trips, not only Lake Forest schools, but a lot of our college communities. And all the teachers and superintendents always say, you know what, our schools always want to come back because the kids get such a unique experience. I mean, you can just look at the picture and the expressions on those kids' faces. That's not acting. That's just like sheer amazement.
What's in the tub? A turtle?
That's a turtle. That's Bruno. Bruno is a pretty amazing turtle. He's an alligator snapping turtle, possibly the largest in captivity. And I've got just about every major zoo in the United States that would love to have this thing on exhibit, but he's staying here. He's really a pretty special.
He's about
animal.
100 years old, right?
He might be. We're guessing he's over 150.
Holy cow.
Over 150 years old. So as old as Lake Forest, and probably weighs about 200 pounds or more. So he's quite an impressive animal. That's how I get my weight training in. And we do have a little guest here. My shameful plug for Croctoberfest. We got a little baby alligator that I just rescued today, actually. He was found in a detention pond near O'Hare Airport. Unfortunately, people do get these as pets. They don't make good pets, and they get them, they think it's cool, and they say, gosh, what was I getting myself into? And they let them go. So we oftentimes help local law enforcement, DNR, Fish and Wildlife, and if we can help, we'll help. And so this little guy will be with us through Oktoberfest, and then he'll be going off to probably another facility. We've already got our share of small little crocodilians to take care of. But he's waving at you there. Yes.
You don't want to have him all hold him?
I could bring him up there. I mean, it's.
Thanks, Mary.
Oh, yeah.
Right after you hold him, Mary.
Let's give a fist bump.
There we go.
Bring him
Look at
over.
this guy.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Futures.
How old do you think he is?
Future Bill. No, you didn't hear that.
How
He's
old
probably about 3 months old. So
Okay.
he's
How big could he get?
Oh, they can get 10, 12 feet.
So that's
American alligator.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. But he's actually in relatively good shape for one that was displaced a little bit.
Hey, you bring it over to Mary.
Mary,
Yeah,
wants to
yeah.
see it too.
Mary's an old pro at this, so
Tarantulas, keep them far, far away.
I
But
think your daughter would like to take him home.
yeah, you would. My daughter has now 5 tanks at our house because she started with a program with Rob a few years ago at this the science camp in August, and she is all into. She has turtles, dryland, water aquatic turtles, fish, geckos. Yeah,
We've
got 'em.
corrupted many kids over the years, so that's another big
great.
part of our mission too. All the parents thank us every day for that.
It actually is great, and my daughter is 15, and she's going next summer to the San Diego Wild Animal Park to do a special program for 15 to 17-year-olds who want to learn what it's like to work in zoology and study that potentially because she wants to go into animal conservation. So what we do
You're an
here does
inspiration,
really
Rob.
impact
Well,
kids.
it's one of the cool things. We've had many interns and even part-time staff who moved on to full-time careers in the biological sciences, and they're getting their feet in the door at the Wildlife Discovery Center, get some experience and getting excited about science and education. It's why we do what we do. So it's
That's
a lot of
fantastic.
fun.
Well, I
Any
was
questions?
blown away by the place when I discovered it a few years ago. I mean, I don't even know if everyone in the community knows what's there and how phenomenal it is.
You're absolutely right. In fact, the Lake County Visitor Bureau called us one of the 5 top hidden gems in Lake County, and we really are one of the hidden gems, and we like it like that.
So if people wanted to come see it, though, I know it's not open all the time. What are your
Correct.
What are your current hours?
Right
if you
now,
want
we're
to just
open
drop in?
Tuesdays, Fridays, and Saturdays from 10 to 4, and Sundays we to 4. People can go to our website, which is www.wildlifediscoverycenter.org, and they can get all the updated, we do have seasonal fluctuations with opening, but they can go there to get all the latest updates.
And if you haven't been there in a while, what do you have now outside in the cages? What kind of?
Well, our
what
big,
critters do you have?
it's fun. We have all of our standards, our hawks and owls, and the bobcat. We have kookaburras. We actually had a baby kookaburra born this past spring, so we have 3 kookaburras now. And we also moved one of our big lizards outside for the summer. His name is Sid. It's a black-throated monitor. It's Africa's largest lizard, and he lives outside during the summertime. He's been the biggest hit so far. It's like looking at a Komodo dragon. I mean, he's just a really neat animal, and we had people today just in awe of this animal. So we got something for everyone there.
Well, what's the best time to go if you want to see like the bobcat? Because I went there once and I really didn't.
Yeah, if you want to see the bobcat, probably the morning or late afternoon is when he's most active.
Right.
Come during the midday, he's usually taking a little siesta unless I'm out there
definitely
feeding him. So.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Hey, Carl, I just wanted to say, you know, not too many people know how this whole wildlife discovery started, and you know, Rob doesn't get the attention and the recognition I think that he deserves, but from a guy that I grew up with and had just a vision of doing this and took it forward, and you know, it's nationally renowned now. It's absolutely unbelievable in what you've done. I've told you this, and it's, you know, if it not for you, we wouldn't have what we have here, and Lake Forest is a hidden gem. So
thank you.
Hats off to you, man. That's awesome.
I got a good gig, so.
Thanks, Rob.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, next item is the director's report. Mary?
Bob brought something to my attention, so I'm going to actually start with it so I can share with everyone. He had a question because we were doing our fall dredge down at the lakefront. As you recall, we revised the dredge policy this last year, and we were only going to do it if we got to certain levels that would trigger the need for a second dredge. We had a couple spots in the basin that just hit that minimum mark that we wanted to be at, so we did decide to do a second dredge this year. It's just in the mouth of the basin and kind of right where the boats would come out still from the crane, so that our boaters can get in a fall season. So that is underway. So those who've come down and seen the docks pulled, it was because we wanted to get the maneuverability of the dredge in there. But it's going to be very quick. I actually think they'll be done with dredging the next day and a half. Then the piers will be back in. So by weekend, the boating facility will be back fully in place for the fall season. So please come down and boat. And Bob, thanks for giving me that heads up. And so, you know, he had a good suggestion if we do that next year to put those notices out, because we put, you know, usually we sometimes we do a dredge, sometimes we don't, so people don't know, and we didn't think about giving the heads up on that. So we'll make that note of that for next year down there. So, which leads to me to the, I'm sorry.
And next week is the paving?
The next one is the boat compound resurfacing project, yes. And so starting on the 24th of September, which I think is in 2 weeks, we will be pulling the boats from the compound where they are now and putting the fencing up. Jeff, am I on the right schedule?
No, the fencing goes in on Thursday.
Okay.
To give the boaters in the compound 2 weekends to get everything out by the 26th. That gives Hunter and Brian 2 days to pull any stragglers out for October 1st to start the project. That also gives Chuck and his crew an opportunity to get in there and do some miscellaneous things in preparation for that work.
Just a general question and not related to that, but if you go in the boatyard area, the city has a lot of Zodiacs that don't seem to be in working order or used, and I was just wondering if you're going to dispose of them to make more space for boaters.
That's a good question. I'll have to talk to Hunter about that. I'm not sure if that's part of our fleet or if that's part of some.
They're labeled Lake Forest. They're labeled Lake Forest Sailing, and there's about 12 Zodiacs, of which maybe 4 look usable.
Okay. You know what? I'll check with Hunter to see about that. But it is a good opportunity to do some house cleaning.
That's my
point.
point.
Make sure an opportunity arises to open up some space.
Questions on that? So I'll move on to my second item, which was the Alliance for the Great Lakes annual beach cleanup event. This year we're going to be participating in 2 of them. One of them is going to be with the Lake Forest Open Lands and the city partnering to clean up down at McCormick Beach, which is the beach off our nature center. And that is going to be on Saturday, September 15th from 9 to noon. Chuck will be down there as well as John Santel from Lake Forest Open Lands to greet people in the parking lot area, and then everybody will go together down to the beach because you do have to hike through the preserve to get down to the beach, and just make sure everybody has gloves and the right gear and things like that to help out. But again, it's an annual event that the Alliance for the Great Lakes does, and they inventory everything that's picked up and clean, and they record this so they can get a sense of issues of cleanliness and companies and waste and that kind of thing to improve the quality, water quality, as well as the beach qualities that we have. And then the second beach cleanup we'll be doing will be at Forest Park Beach, our main swim beach, and that's going to be on Thursday, September 20th. And that is the host, the leader of the cleanup is with Abbott Laboratory, so that's why it's a weekday, because a lot of their employees come and assist with it. So residents are also welcome to join that particular cleanup. So that'll be that morning on the 20th down at the beach. And in that one, you can just show up and immediately jump in and stay for as long as you can stay and leave kind of thing. So crews will be doing cleanup down there as well. So to make sure that the assessment is appropriate, we won't be cleaning the sand in the beach between now and the 20th, so they can get a sense of what typically might wash up on the beach, so that they can make sure their inventory is as accurate as possible. So,
do we get a lot of stuff at Forest Park Beach?
We do. We rake the sand with we drag it and pick up. It's a lot of things like plastic straws, unfortunately, water bottles, plastic bags, a little bit of everything, cigarette butts, bottle caps, that kind of thing. So, you know, we do a pretty good job of dragging and cleaning our beach a weekly basis, but, you know, this cleanup has been going on for, you know, a number of years, and like I said, it's a national, it's all around the Great Lakes. All the states around the Great Lakes do this together during this month, and all the data is collected for national research on this. So, so I wanted to let you know about that in case you'd like to join either one of those cleanups. They're looking for residents to join in and help us out with that. And then the last item that I had here was just some special events. We started load in on Sunday with the Lake Forest Library. As you know, they rent the gym at the rec center and hold their library book sale inside. It is extremely large. Over 100,000 volumes of books are brought into the center, so it's nonstop carts and dollies going in, but it's a great partnership with them. Exposes our facility to people who may not have been to the rec center in a long time, or even have ever been to our rec center, to get a chance to see it, as well as partner with a local municipal service, which is the library, to help them with their fundraising efforts. So I put a flyer up there that it starts really with the Thursday night is the volunteer and friends members only night, then Friday, September 14th from 9 to 8, Saturday, September 15th from 9 to 5, and then Sunday, September 16th from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. So it's not only books, they have CDs and DVDs and everything. So if you enjoy reading, or you want to get some good, even gifts for grandkids, things like that, it's a great place to be. So that's going to be busy week for us associated with the library. So I wanted to share that one with you. And the last one Rob has already touched upon, but is the picnic on the farm. Again, it's a new event. It's going to be at Aloha Park this year, and it's on Sunday, September 30th. And it's just a low-key family event. We hope residents and everybody can come out and enjoy it with us. So well, in the October meeting, we'll give you the full lowdown of all the October Halloween events that we have going on. Though I did want to mention one other. We are taking registration now for a scarecrow building contest. That is an event where families or groups of friends can all get together as a team and pay an entry fee to build a scarecrow around Market Square. It's been in the past, and it's great fun. You get bunch of supplies, you can bring your supplies and create your own one-of-a-kind scarecrow, and then there's a contest, and we judge them and stuff. So it started 2 years ago, and it's been going really well, and families have really had a great time with it. And I think this year, or last year I should say, families actually competed with each other, like, you know, got a rivalry going. It was really fun. So those are our special events coming up, and that concludes my comments for the evening.
Thanks, Mary. Other comments by board members? Can I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Meeting is adjourned. Thank you.